Okay, so we're going to start the skeletal muscle lab. You're going to need two pictures out of your lab manual. You can see the anterior or half of the anterior view that you'll find in your lab manual, and then on the opposite page there's a posterior view. You're going to need both of these pages and colored pencils. So if you don't have these two, you need to stop the video, go get them, and then start the video again. So we're going to start labeling and color coding only the muscles that you're responsible for. So let's get started. Notice the A that I just circled on the screen. This muscle that's found on the sides of the skull over the temporal bone are called the temporalis muscles. And so on your anterior view, you'll notice that the temporalis muscle is number 31. So you should put the letter A. I colored mine blue, so I colored my word temporalis blue, and then I colored over the temporalis muscle blue as well. So over the temporal bones is the temporalis muscle. So let's go to another muscle. Let's look at the muscle with the V. This muscle surrounds the eye, so it is called the orbicularis oculi. Orbicularis meaning concentric circles around the ocular or the eye. On your sheet, that is number 17. So I have colored my muscle orbicularis oculi red, and I have gone to number 17 and colored my word orbicularis oculi red and labeled it V. So now we have two muscles labeled on the skull. Let's go to a third muscle. Let's look at X. Well, X also is concentric circles, but this time around the mouth or the oral cavity. Can you guess what the name of this muscle is going to be? Orbicularis oris. And so on your lab sheet, it is number 18. So I colored my orbicularis oris green. And on your lab sheet, you can color the muscle green and then go to the word number 18, orbicularis oris, color it green, and label it X. Let's go to a fourth muscle. Let's go to B. These muscles are big muscles of the cheek. They help you with mastication or chewing. So the name of these big cheek muscles is masseter. On your lab sheet, that would be number 16. So I colored number 16 on my lab sheet yellow. I labeled it B, and then I came back and colored the masseter muscle on one side yellow, so I would know where the masseter muscle was. Masseter. So let's go just a little bit further down, leave the skull and go to the neck and the chest region. We're going to label this muscle that's running obliquely down the neck. It is Z. The name of this muscle is the sternocleidomastoid, and that is number 29 on your sheet. So 29, I colored mine kind of a fuchsia pink, and so I colored my word sternocleidomastoid kind of a fuchsia pink. Notice that it has two heads. The one end of the muscle is going to attach to the sternum and the clavicle. So sterno for sternum, cleido for clavicle, and then it's going to attach to the mastoid process, which is that bump behind the ear, that lump on the temporal bone. So by looking at the name of this muscle, you can tell where it's running, sternocleidomastoid, from the sternum and the clavicle to the mastoid process. And so that is Z, or number 29. Another muscle found in the neck region, not running oblique but running parallel to the axis, is Y. Y is the sternohyoid. Sternohyoid is number 30 on your sheet. It is Y, so I colored mine a light blue color. You can color yours whatever color you want, so it's unique, but 30 is sternohyoid, it's Y. And look at the name of the muscle. It tells you where it's located. It goes from the sternum to the hyoid bone. It goes straight up and down the axis in the neck region, sternohyoid. So let's go a little bit further down into the torso of the muscle man. This muscle that is found on the shoulder actually forms a triangle. We're only seeing half of that triangle, but it goes all the way anterior to the posterior and down and hooks to the humerus. Since this muscle is a triangular shaped muscle, they named it the deltoid muscle. So deltoid is number 4. Since we've already used red, I actually on my muscle man made this one striped red. I didn't on my picture on the screen because I wanted to make it visible to you so you would know which muscle it was. But on my muscle man itself, I put striped red. So deltoid number 4 is E, and I made it striped red. Another muscle that we see in the torso, the big chest muscle, I actually colored mine striped blue, is the pectoralis major. The pectoralis major. Remember that your shoulder and clavicle make up your pectoral girdle, so this area of the chest is the pectoralis region, so this is the pectoralis major. It is a big fan-shaped muscle that converges to one tendon. So 21 is pectoralis major. It is labeled AA. I made mine striped blue on my real picture. Let's go to another muscle. G. G is found on the anterior surface of the upper arm. This is probably the most recognized muscle of all. G is the biceps brachii. G is number 2 on your sheet. Biceps brachii. It is one of the muscles that helps you flex your arm. It's not really the prime mover. The brachialis is the prime mover in arm flexion, but it does definitely assist, or it's a synergist. So the biceps brachii, a very prominent muscle on the anterior surface of the upper arm, and it has 2 heads, hence the name bicep. Brachii tells you it's on the brachium of the body or on the upper arm. I colored mine striped green since I'd already used solid green in the head region. So let's go to another muscle. Hinting on either side of the biceps brachii, you can see a muscle that really is on the posterior view, but I wanted you to see that you could see it peeping around from the back side. The muscle that's on the posterior brachium has 3 heads. So what do you think we name that muscle that we can see peeping around that has 3 heads? Yes, it is the triceps brachii. Triceps brachii is number 36. And I think I did mine striped yellow actually on my man. Striped yellow, you can do it whatever unique color you want it to be, but don't let it be one of the colors you've already used or color patterns you've already used. Triceps brachii 36 is F, and you see it yellow on my picture. It is the muscle that extends the arm. So let's go further down in the torso. Now I labeled this muscle on both sides because I really thought that on his right side you could actually see the shape of the muscle more clearly than you can see on his left side. They've labeled it BB, but this muscle is called the serratus anterior. Anterior tells you it's on the anterior surface, and serratus, a serrated knife, is a knife that goes in and out like a saw blade. And so you can see, especially on his right side, how that muscle weaves in and out of the ribs, and so it has that serrated appearance. Serratus or serratus anterior, and that is number 27 on your sheet, or we're going to label that BB. I did mine X'd red, so I just put X's, red X's over that area to make that a unique red coloring. I just put X's on my real picture. Serratus anterior. So let's move down to DD. DD is running down the middle of the abdomen. It's running straight up and down the axis. A word that means straight up and down the axis is rectus, and this is the abdomen. So guess what the name of this muscle is? Rectus abdominis. On your sheet, rectus abdominis is number 24, and on my man I did X's of blue on the rectus abdominis. I labeled it DD, so DD is the rectus abdominis. Let's move to EE. EE is not running straight up and down, but is running at an angle. This EE is the external oblique. Think about what that word oblique means. It means running at an angle. So this muscle is running at an angle. It's oblique. It is on the outside. There is a muscle deep to the external oblique called the internal oblique that's running in the opposite diagonal. So the external oblique is EE. It is number 6 on your sheet. I made mine X'd green instead of solid green on my real sheet. F, F. FF is the internal oblique that I was talking about that was running in a different diagonal. On this left side of the body, they've actually taken off some of the superficial muscles so you could see the deep muscles more clearly. So if you can imagine that that green external oblique has been removed so that you can see that yellow internal oblique underneath. And on my sheet, internal oblique is number 14. I labeled it FF, and I did yellow X's on that internal oblique. So let's go to some muscles that are found in the lower appendages. We're going to start on the front of the thigh. This massive muscle that is labeled O is called the rectus femoris. Why do you think it's called the rectus femoris? Because it goes straight up and down the thigh bone or the femur. So the rectus femoris. On your sheet, rectus femoris is number 25. We're labeling that O. And since I've already used red, striped, and X'd, I put red dots on my rectus femoris. So my rectus femoris is O. Let's label P. Running beside the rectus